a while ago when Texas Chainsaw 2021 got its official rating, its official MPAA rated R rating. We did a whole update on that and we were talking about it. And part of what we were talking about is it was like, where is any info on this movie? Like there was nothing. Not
we
dang thing.
were under the assumption that it just wasn't gonna happen. Like it just fell through the cracks.
Well, and I didn't think it fell through the cracks, but I was like, man, something must really be going down with this. Something must have gone wrong with COVID, with
Leatherface
the studio. I mean, it was just like, there was nothing about it. We found out that the original Sally was going to be in the movie, which is cool, but kind of like, what? Why? So what we know is that this will be a sequel to the original 1973 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We will get the original final girl, Sally, in it. She's an older woman now. We know nothing about the story. We know nothing about the plot. There's a website with no information on it. We've gotten a poster. That's about it. But now, new information. It's heading to Netflix.
Ha ha!
Why?
I know Disney has Marvel. I know HBO has DC. And like honestly, man, it kind of makes sense for Netflix to want to delve into like just it having horror. You know what I mean?
A lot of the horror on Netflix sucks though.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like
honest.
I think it's like I think it would be dope for them to delve into the horror one. It instead of a new streaming service coming back or just coming out and trying to do its own horror stuff. But
like
I think
Shudder.
Because Shudder really isn't catching any leeway.
Honestly, I had Shudder for about a week, and I looked through it and I was like, like there was nothing that I watched a few things, but there was nothing that really like I canceled my subscription. I was like, I don't know, it didn't really speak to me.
Yeah,
I wasn't that wild about it.
I think this move may hint the fact that Netflix may want to delve into like more of a horror genre ish kind of in there. They want their catalog to have more horror, just so it can pull as many people back in. Because I know they're getting a lot of Sony projects, so that's cool.
They are,
but they also need more. So I mean, they could just delve into the whole horror aspect.
Well, that could be a reason, because originally this was supposed to be a big screen film. This was not going to be a streaming movie. I think your thoughts, that could very well be maybe true. Netflix is trying to branch out. They're trying to get some of these bigger horror IPs to build up their horror collection. My fear is that this was incredibly, like, the test screenings that we heard about were terrible. Everybody that was at the test screenings for this movie were like,
that's fucking great.
They said it was
sorry.
awful. Now, I know nothing about those test screenings other than the fact that everything I've heard about it was that it was awful. I was really hoping that this thing would kind of break the Texas Chainsaw Massacre curse, because let's be completely honest, all of the sequels to the original one, except for the 2003 remake, have been dog water. They haven't been very good.
They haven't been good.
It doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I don't watch them. Texas Chainsaw 3D was fun for what it was, but it was cheesy. It was super cheesy. And I sent Miguel a picture of a flow chart of all of the the continuity of the Texas Chainsaw movies.
He could not have explained me the whole continuity stuff if it had not been for that fucking picture he sent me.
Miguel texted me back and he was like, that is the most convoluted thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Well, it's
Yeah.
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Reboot sequel to the original, then actual sequel to the original, then another sequel to the original, and then there's the remake, and then there's a prequel to the remake, and then there's another sequel to the original, and then there's another sequel. I mean, it's just like what it doesn't make any sense. Like at least Halloween and Friday the 13th, like they at least stuck with it for a few movies and then changed routes. This thing is just like sequel, prequel, sequel to the original, remake, sequel to the original. It's all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. So let's read through this thing because let's read it and then we'll talk about it. We'll read it and then we'll talk about it. A surprising move that was announced at the start of this week: the upcoming Fede Alvarez produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a decades later sequel to Tobe Hooper's original classic, we've been told, is not being released in theaters by Legendary as planned, but rather the film is bringing Leatherface exclusively to Netflix. The streaming service has picked up global rights to the franchise's return, meaning Leatherface is headed to the small screen. Directed by David Lou Garcia, yada, yada, yada. It'll be the first one since 2017. I forgot. There was Leatherface, which was like it was a direct TV movie. I haven't seen that. And
Really?
so it's, I didn't see the direct TV one. I didn't see that. Well, almost everything going on in the movie industry right now can be considered a pandemic fueled anomaly rather than the new normal. Multiple big time horror franchises are currently planning for streaming debuts in the months and years ahead. Miguel, you might be right, dude. That's true.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense for Netflix to delve into like the horror aspect because honestly, like Netflix can't get a hold of any other big franchise, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like the only thing they have left is just to delve into the horror genre, which obviously, as I've learned from starting this podcast, that the horror fandom is extremely dense. Not
Mm-hmm.
dense in the sense of dumb, but just dense. Like there's a lot of you. So it's
Dense
it's a
and
good
dumb.
it's a good avenue to go through. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So like yeah, like I hope it doesn't I hope they do good in it, but I hope they don't just end up like don't hope they don't end up like Shutter where it's just a bunch of like half quality movies. You know what I mean?
Me too. I hope
Yeah.
so too. The next installment in the Evil Dead franchise, Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise, is expected to go straight to HBO Max sometime next year. There's a new Hellraiser series or a new Hellraiser film, coming to Hulu. There's going to be Paranormal Activity and Pet Cemetery movies or TV shows coming to Paramount Plus. Like, this isn't a one-time thing, it looks like. This is streaming services with horror franchises.
Which kind of
Are,
sucks, you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
one of the best things about horror, a good horror movie, is whether it's in like in a theater in the IMAX and you actually feel the intensity and the
right.
fear surrounding you. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
dope. And if they're all just gonna go to streaming, you kind of lose that horror aspect. I'm sure horror fans and directors of horror movies are gonna be upset with that notion of a lot of their movies being sent to streaming. I hope that's not the case because again, a good horror movie will absolutely slap
Oh yeah,
at
especially
the
on the
movie
big
theater.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot about the Alien and Chucky TV series that are gonna be coming too. Um,
I thought you
so
were like saying they were mashing them up. I was like, what?
no, 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 no. Um, When it was announced that Evil Dead Rise was going to be an HBO Max movie, many horror fans had the same reaction that they had this week when Leatherface's impending return was announced for Netflix. Understandably, many still view direct to streaming as the death knell for franchises, as well as a bad sign when it comes to studio faith in the product. But the days of direct to video being a dirty term are largely behind us in 2021.
That's
Even if
that's
horror
true.
fans, right, it is true. Even if horror fans will probably be forever wounded by franchises like Pumpkinhead, Return of the Living Dead, and Hellraiser, just to name a few, being completely killed off by low budget direct to video sequels that were never able to even approach the quality of the theatrical offerings. There was a time indeed when the franchise taking the direct-to-video approach all but ensured that it wasn't a viable property anymore. But can that really be said at a time when some of the best horror movies in any given year are being released in theaters, but at home? It's an interesting thought, man. And I
It
think
is,
this
but
is
I think we need to. I think we do need to like talk a little bit about the direct to streaming thing because it's also like, yeah, it's that used to be like a really like taboo kind of, or like it was just like a end to the movie kind of thing. Like that just kills the movie right there if it goes
Mhm.
direct to streaming. But nowadays, thanks to the streaming service, it kind of like made going direct to streaming popular again.
True. I
Yeah.
would agree with that. That is true. So direct to streaming, to be sure, is a whole different world than direct to video. And as the landscape continues to evolve, it's only natural that we're going to have to start looking at things in a different way. With the pandemic still raging in the US and a large portion of the population refusing to get vaccinated. Damn, bloody disgusting. Throw the shade. It makes all the sense in the world for a movie like TCM to forego a theatrical release right now and for Legendary to instead sell the finished film to Netflix for what is surely a hefty sum of money right out of the gate. A bad sign for the quality of the movie, you ask? Let's not forget that Lee Janik's Fear Street trilogy, originally planned as a theatrical release, instead went direct to Netflix earlier this summer, and horror fans, by and large, ate it up with glee. And that is true. Fear Street was extremely successful, and I still haven't watched it yet. But I heard it was really, really well done. That's another question that I had is about, Bloody Disgusting says they have a hefty, like it was sold to Netflix for a hefty sum of money. How much money? Usually when there's, like, I'm trying to think, even when Blumhouse got Halloween, I think there was a price attached. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost worried that because the film did so badly in test screenings, they were worried about how much money it would make at the box office. So
So
it's
they,
almost like, how much money did they sell it to Netflix for?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a little scary. I'm gonna skip through some of this. I want to get to the point here. As a theatrical release, a movie needs to make a healthy financial profit to be considered successful enough to warrant a sequel. As a streaming release, it merely needs to be viewed by a lot of subscribers. And I think that right there is the thing that that's really the big player here is with choosing not to release it in the theaters, they don't have to worry about the box office. They don't have to worry about it making a certain amount of money to make their money back. The fact that Netflix owns this movie now and that they are the ones that are going to dictate moving forward what, if there's a sequel to it, whatever, it just needs to be viewed by a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
It's easier. And like you had said, this kind of goes on to say, if the studios play their cards right, streaming could very well result in a new golden age for franchise horror content. As more streaming services pop up that need more and more original content, that'll encourage new subscribers to sign up. There's a good chance that means more and more franchise content is on the way. We're not going to read the rest of that article just because it's a lot of the same crap. But I don't know, man. I'm nervous for this movie. I'm nervous that we haven't heard anything for a movie that's been filmed
Oh,
for
I'm
almost a
nervous.
year.
I'm not nervous about it at all. I just know it's gonna suck then because
I
the
think
test
it
screenings are
probably will
really
suck.
bad.
And test screenings are kind of a double-edged sword because it's like it's focus groups. You know what I mean? That's basically what it is. They sell this movie to or not sell it to literally, but I mean they choose specific people that are in these test screenings. So it's like, I mean, it could go either way. I mean, a lot of the test screenings for Halloween for example, the test screenings for Halloween Kills were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But Halloween Kills could still turn around and suck. I don't think it will. But I mean, and the same could go for this. The test screenings for TCM could have been terrible, but the movie's actually great. It's
But
like
then you have the test screening for the Batman, and people absolutely fucking love it.
that's fair.
But like the test screenings really do put in a lot of factors. I have not heard of a test screening where they hated it and then ended up being good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the problem is studios use test screenings. Like I guarantee you that test screening is part of what dictated this going to Netflix and this
Yeah.
selling this movie to Netflix.
Yeah, I
Because I'm
agree.
sure they had terrible test screenings and they were like, "Wow, we're not going to make any money back, so we got to get rid of this thing." I'm
Yeah.
sure that's my fear. And that almost it's my fear is that if the studio doesn't have faith in it,
Yeah.
it's like if the studio doesn't have faith in this thing, it's like why should we?
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
mean, I think TCM is in. It deserves a good sequel. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I wasn't really that much of a fan of it. I'm sure there's plenty of you guys that really want it. I think I get why you guys are so excited for it because again, look at the fucking continuity stuff you guys have. You guys have your lineup is just so everywhere, off the wall and different directions. Like you want something that's like directly there's like a direct sequel to it and it's actually good. Fortunately,
yeah,
sounds like it, guys. I'm sorry. It doesn't sound like it's gonna be that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
so
I'll post that article. I know we didn't get to the whole thing in this episode because we still have one more. We have one more to get through, and that won't take too long. We're gonna look through the DC fandom, um, the lineup for DC fandom on October 16th. But I will post that article in the comments below. Let us know what you think about TCM going straight to Netflix because my
didn't
teeth
look
are
too
gritting.
good.
Not sure. Not sure. I'm scared. I'm scared, Miguel. I'm nervous. I'm very
As
nervous.
you should. As you should.
As I should be. Test screenings were terrible. And for real though, we haven't heard anything. Like there's not a synopsis, there's not a teaser trailer, there's not I mean, honestly, most people probably don't even know that this thing is happening.
Yeah, not many people do.
They
And
probably
if
don't
you
even know
didn't
that it's gonna be a
if you
thing.
didn't tell me, if we didn't talk about that and like movies we were excited to see in 2021, I would not have known.
Yeah.